Hi, I'm Susan Bratton, and I'm here with Tallulah Sulis, one of my dear friends, long-term business partners, creator of Female Liquid Orgasm, Squirt Your Heart Out, Keep Her Coming, and the webinar we've done with Sloan Fox and Gabrielle Moore called Making Her Multi-Orgasmic. Tallulah has been with Personal Life Media since the very beginning of our company. She's a good friend and a wonderful coach, and so it's very exciting for me in launching our coaching support program for you that Tallulah was able to give us a few hours on her schedule every week to make available for Personal Life Media customers. Tallulah is a therapist and a counselor, and one of the things that I really appreciate about Tallulah's more holistic approach to coaching is that she's very body-based in her coaching practice, and so she takes your emotional as well as your physical body into account when she's helping you move through whatever it is that you want to move through to get wherever you want to go. And so, hello Tallulah, welcome to our coaching get to know you, for everyone to get acquainted with you. It's great to see you.
Thank you. My pleasure, Susan. It's great to be here.
I always love collaborating with you. You're such a brilliant and unique and charming woman. And one of the things that I wanted you to just explain a very little bit before we get into our three stories. We have three stories from Tallulah today. One about a couple who the wife had a little difficulty with orgasm. They wanted to spice up their sex life, and Tallulah helped them, and she's going to tell us that story. One about a man who was really gutted by an ugly divorce, had a lot of confidence issues, and realized he needed to learn a lot to not screw up wife number two, and how to be that man that a woman would really want and resonate with. Tallulah helped him, as well as a woman who had had a lot of past sexual trauma that was affecting her ability to have relationships because she had an almost non-existent libido. And that is a very common situation, so I'm glad that Tallulah is going to talk about it. But before we get into hearing those stories, I really wanted Tallulah to talk to you about two things that she does. One is called a somatic counseling approach, and another is called Hakomi, which is another somatic or body-based coaching and therapy and counseling, what I would call a technology in a way. And because we're talking about sex and we're talking about our bodies, that's one of the reasons why Tallulah can be such a powerful coach, even over things like Skype video or the phone. So Tallulah, will you just tell us a little bit about what Somatica and Hakomi are and how they work and how you bring them into your practice?
Sure, absolutely. I started off many years ago, maybe about 12 years ago, as a client to a Hakomi therapist. I had no idea what it was, but it was one of the most transformative experiences of my life, in that I was able to tap into my body and realize that I even wasn't in my body, and I was not really also in touch with my truth. And certain major components and patterns that I had, I wasn't able to see. Like, intellectually, I could grasp it, but a very deep type of counseling that helps you go inward, more towards your inner truth and a deeper knowing through your body's wisdom. So there's a lot about working with core wounds and major issues in your life that you can overcome on a deeper level when you're really in touch with that, rather than just talking about things. So it really struck a very deep chord, and then I went on to become a Hakomi therapist and studied Hakomi and got certified, and have been working with Hakomi clients for many years now, and I absolutely love it. It's a major passion of mine, and it works very well with sexuality because it's all about tapping into your body, understanding the subtleties of your body's wisdom, and uncovering blockages in your body as well as in your psyche and in your emotional body that can, once you can overcome them, you can live more freely and have a more liberating, truer path to your sexuality, or to just being an amazing person that feels empowered and well-resourced in the world. And as far as Somatica goes, I did a wonderful program called the Somatica Method, and it's a training that incorporates some Hakomi, as well as working with clients as a sex coach and helping them to do experiments and work more hands-on with themselves, giving them homework and having them actually, even when you're in the course of doing a coaching call, check in with their bodies and respond in a certain way. So if someone's working with sexual anxiety, for example, we work with that on the phone. And even just talking about it will activate some of that anxiety. So we really kind of check in with it. We do certain experiments, and we have fun. And that's a big part of it, too, is that it doesn't have to be grunt work. It can be a fun, enlightening journey that's also lighthearted, where you get to tap into your inner child, your more playful self, and uncover amazing aspects of your personality and your desires and fantasies and passions that you didn't even know existed. So it's, I like to work hands-on. I'm not just about talking about things. I'm about having experiences, because that's what life is all about ultimately.
So you can and are available for hands-on sessions in California, both the Bay Area, you have a client base there, as well as Los Angeles area, which is where you're actually located. So if you're interested in working with Tallulah and you do want one-on-one work with her that's in person, that is available to you, as well as talking to her over Skype video, and the telephone. And I really love the Somatica and Hakomi technologies, because I can see, first of all, we put all of our emotion inside our bodies. We store all those memories there. So anyone who has any kind of trauma, whether it's emotional or physical, anything that's physical trauma is also emotional trauma. It all goes hand in hand. These kinds of methods can be extremely fast acting and healing, because, again, you're out of your rational mind and you're getting deep into where those emotions are stored. The other thing that you said that I wanted to comment about something. It was, you were talking about sexual anxiety. And I was thinking to myself, listen, I am a very well-practiced person sexually, and I still have sexual anxiety. I don't think anyone, no matter if you had the most perfect upbringing and all the best sex partners, et cetera, and everything, you had you were a 10 and, la, 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 that everybody has sexual anxieties, and that a lot of times we just generate these stories in our heads, and we put these pressures on ourselves, that when we have a coach who can help us get that objectivity and that perspective, those kinds of things can be extremely mitigated and can also be taken care of very quickly. So that's one of the things that I'm excited about with regard to coaching, is that it's not like talk therapy where you're really just sitting there kind of talking ad nauseum about your childhood. You're starting with who you are now and where you want to go, not everything that happened in the past. You're dealing with that as you move forward, which is one of the things I really like about coaching. So anything you have to say before we get into your stories? Or
Well, I just wanted to dovetail a little bit on what you said about, like you said, I personally, as like a sex master, I would consider you a sex master, that even for people to hear that you have anxiety is such a relief, I'm sure, for people listening right now too, because oftentimes we get into the story that we're the only one that is experiencing these things, and it's so not true. I also have sexual anxiety as well, and that is normalizing, helping to normalize people who think that there's something wrong with them or that there's some problem to be fixed.
Yeah.
So when I'm working with people, one of the great things I love to do is just give permission for them to be themselves, and also just normalizing it. Like, yes, this is something that we all experience, and there's not something wrong with you. Like, this is just part of your journey and something that we can work with and have actually a good relationship with, instead of like, anxiety's coming, I got to push it away, something's wrong.
Exactly. Yeah, I can't tell you how many times I get emails from people and they say, my problem is really different. And they tell me the problem and I say, your problem is a very common problem and it is super easy to fix it.
Yes, and they're like, oh, really? Yeah, it's a relief.
And I think it really shows in the stories that you've brought us today. So who would you like to tell us about? You're going to give us 3 stories of times that you've been able to have a very transformational effect on your client. Who do you want to start with?
Well, I'll start with the female client that I was working with, and she came to me and told me that she was coming out of summer relationships, and she was having this reoccurring shutdown sexually that would happen in her relationships. She got to the point where at first she thought it was her partner's, and then she realized, maybe there is something.
Ooh, this is a pattern.
And she also really got real with herself as well, and, said, I actually have little to no sex drive. My libido is either it will come in very strange moments. It's just like, it's something that eludes me. And she's also realized that what we got into was that she was also very disconnected from her body. And we also got into the understanding that she had had some past sexual trauma in her history. And we realized that her body was not necessarily a safe place for her because of that trauma. So, especially with people who have trauma, we take baby steps. We don't try to rush fully into, going straight for, having this amazing, incredible, outrageous sex life. We go with the baby steps. And the first steps that I really took with her were to help her form a more positive relationship with herself and to her body, and find places in her body that did have sensation. So we were basically trying to understand where in her body she actually was feeling some energy. And we realized that, there was a lot of energy up here, and she could feel some energy in her legs, but there was a disconnect. So we helped through different breathing practices and coaching her and different homework assignments. I helped her find a more positive relationship with her body, and started to actually help her engage more with her sexual energy through that. She noticed that the more her body was relaxed, and the more that she was feeling good and safe in her body, the more she was able to feel the sexual energy naturally coming through. So it wasn't like she had to force it. She just realized that, wow, when I'm more in a loving place with myself and my body feels safer. And I would have her just simply lay on a bed with one hand on her chest and one hand on her pelvis, and just be with herself and be with all the different things that were coming through. So after we built that connection with her, a very positive connection with her body, and she got more in touch with her sexual energy, and working with her through some of the issues with her past, as well as what she wanted to create. And also, who is she now that she's a sexual person? So now the sexual energy comes through, what does she want? What are her desires? What is enlivening to her? What helps her feel alive and charged up? So we then got into the positive side, where we were really okay, there's a lot that you want to experience, and there's a lot that you have desire for. So I could see her coming to life again. We did a lot of self-pleasuring journeys where I would, give her homework assignments. And that transformed into her, just being so grateful and just having a whole new relationship with her body. And then also just feeling confident about going into a relationship, knowing what she liked, and having more of the strong understanding of okay, when I'm with a partner now, I can tell them what I like. So we talked a lot about communication as well. To talk to her partners about her need to move more slowly. She realized that she had certain particular needs, and she was excited to be able to talk with that with a partner and share that. And so it was a great story, and I got to see her unfold and move more into her body. And then she did end up getting into a relationship. Our last session was her telling me that she just met someone wonderful. She was really excited, and they had gotten to second base, and she was just excited to see, how things moved, and she wanted to take it nice and slow, and he was respectful of that. So I was very happy for her, and it was exciting to see her beautiful journey, to reconnection with herself.
That's it's a very touching story. I actually have little goosebumps on my arms from you telling me that, because one of the things that also reminds me is that a lot of people don't feel like they deserve a sex life if they don't have a partner. And there's so much that you can do around taking responsibility for your own sexuality, and for cultivating your desire, and for learning where your boundaries are and how to communicate your needs and your boundaries and your desires. And you really covered that well in that story. So if you are a person who is solo, that is a really powerful time to work on who you are and who you want to become. Don't wait until you get into a relationship. Get ready and prepare yourself to be the kind of open, wholesome partner who doesn't come into a relationship with a lot of baggage, but knows how to move into a relationship and put your attention on the other person, and not just kind of be saving your own life in the relationship. So that's good.
Yeah, I call it coming from a place of wholeness. So when we're whole within ourselves, instead of looking for someone else to fulfill these wounds or voids within us, then once we're going to attract an amazing partner when we're coming into a relationship from more of a place of wholeness and being more integrated within ourselves.
Yeah, So true. Yeah, I remember when I was dating a guy and I had sex with him, and he, at the end of lovemaking, when I was still in bed with him, he said, "We're not going to be dating anymore. This is the last time I'm going to see you. You're just no good in bed, and I just feel nothing with you." And basically told me to just get my clothes and get out. It was unbelievable how much shame I felt for so many years about that. And I know there are a lot of people. Well, now I know I just didn't know anything and he didn't either, and I've forgiven him and I've forgiven
Yeah.
myself. But I know there are so many people who feel like they've had a lot of traumatic relationships that didn't go well sexually, and they're so gun shy that you can move them forward past that very easily. By, again, that, I think what a coach does a lot is gives that, the perspective of what's normal and what happens to, and that happens to so many people out there. I mean, when I tell that story, you've heard that story in a million different variations. It happens a lot. Both men and women get shamed by a past lover, and everybody's just doing the best they can do.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and that actually reminds me of my next client story,
Great.
which was this male who had just come out of a very messy divorce,
Oh, yeah.
and he was very, I think you would use the phrase like gutted.
Yeah.
I think you said like gutted. That was a great phrase because that's exactly described him.
Yeah.
He was, they had just a sex life where she was closed off to, but kind of blamed him, and was just like, there's something wrong with you. And really he just, by the time that I was seeing him, he just had very little confidence after his divorce sexually. And he also did realize, she might have been a little closed off sexually and didn't communicate and expected me to be this amazing lover that I didn't know how to be. But I also realized I don't know how to be an amazing lover. So he had a lot that he wanted to work through with me, gaining his confidence back, also learning how do you pleasure women. It was fun to answer his questions and just be in teaching mode with him too. And he's like, okay, so how do I give the best head? And what are some tricks? And he wanted a lot of tricks and techniques, which I loved, and giving him, and had a really fun time talking with him about that. And we would laugh a lot about it. And he would even ask me questions like, okay, so what do I do as far as hygiene, shaving? Do I shave? Do I wax? How do I even groom down here? So he just wanted to have this one person that he could come to with all these questions that he had that he knew he couldn't talk to with any of his guy friends. So it was great. I felt like his buddy and his teacher, as well as his coach and his counselor, because not only did I help him with the technical information, which I believe to be very important, and I knew that he absolutely needed it, but we had to work with his level of sexual confidence. And I would do experiments with him, and we would talk about enough women as well, and what it was like to meet women, and how to approach women. And we also worked through a lot of his emotional issues, because what he realized was that he had a lot of anger towards women and a lot of anger towards his relationship. So we uncovered this very deep well of anger that he had to work through, and I gave him permission to express it, to be with it, but also to see how that is just one level of who he was. And underneath the anger was a lot of hurt. And so we worked through the hurt, and we worked through a lot of the issues, the emotional issues that was making him completely disconnected with his partner and for future partners. So we had to reconnect again with his own relationship with himself. And I also would have him do homework assignments that were self-pleasuring homework assignments, working with loving his entire body too. So not just being genitally focused, but also having a full body experience with his erotic energy. And he was an eager, excited client, which was great. He was very enthusiastic about doing everything that he could and reading every book he could. So yeah, it was a really wonderful journey, and it brought him to this place where I think he's still single, but he's been dating, which is great. And he realized that he wanted to sow his wild oats too and just have a whole bunch of experiences. We realized he wasn't ready to just jump back in another serious relationship, that he wanted to have a whole bunch of amazing experiences. So that's exactly what he's doing. And I got to see him transform from this angry, shut down person who had no confidence to someone who was very personable, happy, excited, could be emotionally vulnerable, and had released this huge weight of anger that he had towards women and got to work through a lot of his hurt. So it was a really wonderful, transformative experience. And I still connect with him, and we check in every now and again. And he's, on a wonderful journey right now in his life. So I'm very happy for him.
It's funny too, because I was talking to a girlfriend of mine recently, and her husband doesn't really have a sex drive, and she's very lonely in her marriage. And she was asking me why it was like that, and what I could do to help, and what she would recommend. And she said, it's so nice to talk to you, because I don't have anybody to talk to about this. I can't talk to my girlfriends about this, because they know my husband, and I wouldn't want them to know. And I said to her, nobody has anybody to talk to about this stuff. You are exactly like everybody else. People are struggling in misery and silence without any windows out to possibility. They think they're the only one who has these problems. They think theirs is weird or the worst or different. And the thing about having a coach is that you get that person to talk to, that you can ask, like, how do I trim my pubic hair the best way? You can ask them anything. And just hearing your story about how now that guy wants to get out and have lots of experiences, that you've filled in all that upset and anger and hurt and alienation and shame and fear, with confidence and excitement and a zest for life that makes him feel so good that he wants to go out and have a lot of experiences. And that's one of the things that I love most about having the ability for people to work with you and with our coaches, is nobody has anybody to talk to, but you can have somebody, not only somebody, but somebody who has tons of exercises and ideas of ways that can make you feel like you have all this possibility opening for you. You can go from being just this shut down, angry, miserable person to being this person who can walk into a room and feel like, wow, I wonder who's in here that I could have a hot experience with, and feel like you can actually make that happen.
Yeah, and attract more people with that new energy. Yeah, because to be honest, he wasn't real likable when I first talked to him. In that sense that you could just feel this level underneath of that energy that just wasn't resolved. But by the end of it, it was amazing. And it was one of the things too that I love is just being a client's advocate, right?
Yes.
So being the biggest cheerleader and the biggest fan, and see all the things the positive things also that they don't see about themselves, because it's very easy to get caught up in all the things we're not doing right. And so sometimes you just need someone to be like, hey, look, do you realize that you're also doing this particular thing really well? That this is a resource for you, and it works well for you, and this is something that you need to realize and also just put more energy into. And it's really great to see people be like, oh, okay, yes, I guess you're right. I guess I do this well, and I guess I do have a gift for this, and just help cheerlead them towards these amazing changes, and also creating this very safe container at the same time, that they can confide in us too.
Very healing, very life affirming. It's funny too, because I was thinking about, I recently sent out an email and I asked our friends and followers of Personal Life Media, what was the one word that you would use to describe Personal Life Media? And I got literally at this point thousands of replies, but and we got 1,000 different words, but there were two concepts that were like neck and neck for what we mean to people. And one of them was enlightenment or inspiration, and the other was information and education. And that's exactly what you do as a coach. You do that one-on-one for a man or a woman, or for a couple. And I know in this next story, you did a combination of education and inspiration or enlightenment with this couple. Will you tell us the story about that? Because it's a great one. And it's not only a great one, but it's also probably one of the biggest issues that Personal Life Media customers struggle with.
Mm-hmm. Yes, this was a couple that had been married for a while, and they definitely were in a place where they needed to get their spark back. and spice up their sex lives. And upon further, at first that's kind of what it seemed like, but then as we explored some more and I was talking to them, it became very clear that the woman, she had a lot of issues that she was dealing with, and it was very hard for her to have orgasms. And she had a lot of issues just even getting turned on and feeling like also that her partner was getting it right for her. Like he was trying to do all these things that he thought she would like, and it just wasn't working for her either. So and he was so excited. He was like this very enthusiastic guy that wanted to have this wonderful sex life with his wife. And she was the one who was a little hesitant and was like, I'm not sure if I even want this. I'm kind of going along for him. And so we did a lot of work around her sexuality too. And one of the things that really helped both of them was doing these, I call them like they're sensual massage journeys that you can do as a couple. And I coach them through what I call helping your partner find your partner's erotic map, which is basically understanding in a very clear way where you're given permission to tell your partner, like, oh, I really liked when you just did this one little thing with your finger, or if you could just stay right there, that feels really good, and just being able to give them full permission to say exactly in very good detail what's working for them, what's not, and in a way that's very positive so that the partner doesn't feel like they're doing anything wrong.
Yes.
So I coached them through this process of her giving him a sensual massage where he could just fully receive, and then she could just fully receive as well. And what was really amazing was that she got to, first of all, just feel like she wasn't being rushed into anything. She could just enjoy a really nice massage and not feel like this pressure. She was always feeling this pressure from him. And when anyone's under pressure sexually, usually the opposite happens. Everything just kind of shuts down, right? So I helped kind of open up these new doorways for experiments and fun things they could try. We also found that something that she really liked, which she had no idea, is that she liked light domination. So I kind of got this feeling like, oh, you really like when someone really just takes you. Because he was the type of person that was very much like, oh, is that okay? Is this okay? And, I had a very gentle, sweet personality. And for her job, she was a powerhouse. She was always like in front and center. So what I realized was like, I have a feeling she might really like to be dominated in the bedroom. Yeah. So I had them do these different homework assignments where he's like throwing her up against the wall and grabbing her, and also just doing different experiments where, there was she was blindfolded and on the massage table, and they just had, like, they came back and they were all giddy and, bubbly when I talked to them next because it was this fun experiment. And he was like, wow, that was one of the first times I've actually seen her like thrusting her hips and getting into it and moaning to really be vocal, to express things, and she would just kind of be all stuck and almost frozen in her body. So again, I work a lot with helping people unlock and open up their bodies through their breath, through their voice, through moaning, and through moving their hips, and really just kind of letting themselves surrender. And that's very hard to teach someone to do, but again, you take baby steps and work through these different ways that you can surrender. And so it was really great to work with them and help them find these ways and these new things they'd never tried before to put the spark back in. And also did a lot of emotional work with her too to help her kind of unlock her sexuality and find out what she really liked. And he was on board with everything. He was like, whatever she likes, I'm totally down. And it was really exciting to see their journey. So yeah, so by the end of it, of the time that I spent with them, and I worked with them over the course of maybe a year to a year and a half, it was really wonderful to see them, go through this journey together and have these amazing, fun adventures, but also some really healing times, because she was able to also have an orgasm with him, and she like cried when she, was having her orgasm, and they were getting to this new level of deeper connection as well. So it was great to see them more deeply connected and also trying these fun things like light domination and, things that kind of help them feel like their spark was back in their relationship.
Nice. What beautiful stories. I mean, it's so rewarding to get to have conversations like this, as you can imagine. And just thinking about the, literally millions of people who could benefit from this. What's the typical engagement for you with a client? Is it, a session, 6 sessions, a year, 2 year? Like, what do people usually do when they work with you? How does it usually go?
Well, I've worked, it varies so much because some people are just wanting to get some specific information or work through one specific issue. But oftentimes what happens is sometimes people will come to me and be like, okay, there's this one thing that I really just want to learn, or I just want to be able to last longer sexually. But then other stuff starts to kind of come through and come up, and then we find other things that they want to work on. And then it went from this initial like, okay, I'll see you for a few sessions, or I'll do coaching with you for a few sessions, into talking with them maybe once a week or once every other week. There was also people that I've talked to maybe like once a month, and sometimes even twice a week for certain people. So it can really vary. And what I tell people is that sometimes just even a matter of 1 or 2 sessions, you're good. You have what you need, and a lot can happen in just 1 or 2 sessions. And then sometimes people want that continued maintenance, and they have a whole bunch of things that they're excited to explore and learn and work through. So it can vary a lot from client to client.
You are very well known at Personal Life Media for your programs on female ejaculation or squirting. You've done squirt shops, hands-on live workshops with partners around the world. And I would imagine that there are a number of people who, knowing that about you or maybe buying your programs, especially a lot of women, would like to have those elusive ejaculatory orgasms that every woman is capable of having. I would imagine that that's one of the things that you're best at, is helping people achieve those, more expanded states of orgasmic pleasure. Tell me if that's true, and then what would maybe a couple of other things be that you're really good at? Like if you could tell everybody, call me if you need help with this, or this. What would be some of the ones that came to mind first for you that you're really good at?
Mm-hmm. Well, I definitely would say that, my years of experience working with female ejaculation and the G-spot is also a big part of the work that I do, is just helping women have deeper orgasms and more full-body orgasms. I also have studied a bit of Tantra as well, so I incorporate different elements of spirituality and Tantra and connection. For me, the Tantric approach has, I have a very eclectic background as far as the different arenas of sexuality that I've studied. So I basically like to bring all these different arenas together into one and grab bits and pieces where, this is what I love about Tantra, and this is what I love about sexological body work, and this is what I love about certain counseling modalities. So definitely helping coach women with orgasm is a big, not just, ejaculatory orgasms, but just being more orgasmic in general, and feeling more empowered sexually. So I'd say that that's been my main focus, is working with women's empowerment and sexuality in all of those arenas. But I've also just gotten really excited about working with couples and working with men as well. And I actually end up working a lot with men. And so I'd say that my main areas of focus are helping people just to feel more sexually empowered, to be more fully orgasmic, to be more in their bodies, and to have a deeper connection with their sexuality. So a lot of times I work with people who are like, I'm kind of lost sexually. I don't know what I want. I don't have much of a sex drive. Those are the people where I'm like, okay, great. Or, hey, we're in a relationship and we want to spice up our sex life. Those are also people where I'm like, awesome. We have so much we can do. And a lot of people think, I just want to say this too, that in a relationship, when the passion dies, that's just what happens. Oh. And I'm a big advocate of a passion, and being in love and expressing your sexual energy is a choice too. It is something that we can choose, and it's an exciting thing when we know we have the choice. And with both partners choosing that, it opens up a whole infinite level of possibilities. So I love helping open these infinite doors for couples that are like, I think we're just at our dead end. Like this is the passion has run out, like that there's a finite amount. And I'm like, oh, okay, we definitely, there's a lot more doors we can open. So I'd say that's my passion, is really helping give people more possibilities and help work through feeling stuck in their sexuality, or just lost, or have no idea even how to, pleasure a woman sexually or be with a woman. And so those are the exciting arenas that I feel like I'm really passionate and can help people with.
One of the things that I like best about you is that you're kind of like a sexy girl next door. You're very attractive, and you're very intelligent. You're very well educated, but you're also not intimidating at all. Like, you'd think that someone as beautiful, as sexually experienced, as educated, as accomplished. I mean, you have world-class online programs, a busy practice, that someone could be pretty intimidated in even, thinking they might want to work with you. And yet, not at all. Like, you just have this very approachable style that I'm so glad that people can get a chance to get to know you a little more on video, because unless they've actually acquired your programs, Female Liquid Orgasm, etc., they might not necessarily have gotten to see you on video. And so thank you so much for taking the time to let us know how you can help us be more involved in our sexuality and more whole as a sexual human being. I really appreciate the time you've given today, and I'm really happy to have you as part of the Personal Life Media coaches, because, as you know, I only picked 4. I picked my 4 best that I could possibly imagine in the universe, and boy, there are a lot of coaches out there, as you know. And so I'm really glad to have you as part of our offering at Personal Life Media, because I want only the best people to help our customers. So thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm so honored and excited to be a part of this. Thank you, Susan.
I always love doing things with you, T.
We have so much fun together.
We do. We've had many good years together. So thank you so much for tuning in today to meet Tallulah Sulis, to learn more about how coaching might be able to affect you in having a happier, healthier, more emotionally stable and satisfying and intimately connected life on this planet. Here's much love from both of us. From Tallulah and Suze, let us help you, and just let us know how we can do that and support you. Thanks so much, and thanks, Tallulah.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.